Happy Friday, everybody. Hopefully you're ready for the weekend. Had a nice short week, even though sometimes an extra day off doesn't seem like that much of a difference. All right. So throughout our presentation today, feel free to go ahead and just pop any questions in the chat. We'll have some time for questions at the end if you want to stick around, ask me a few questions, but feel free to pop it in the chat. So again, welcome everybody. My name is Nikki Lanauzi, the wellness technician here with Pinellas County in the wellness department. Thank you so much for joining me today for our Start a Sustainable Fitness Routine webinar. All too often, we start a fitness routine with the best intentions. However, within a few weeks, or if we're lucky, within a few months, we fall back into that same sedentary, or in other words, inactive lifestyle that we were previously living before. This can definitely be frustrating and discouraging for individuals, leading to negative feelings towards activity. It can be, what's the point of doing it? But I promise there's a huge benefit, and we'll discuss everything. So in this presentation, my hopes for you all is just to change the way that you see fitness and how you can set up a current fitness routine that works for your body and your life. So heading on into it, just an overview of the presentation that we have. I know we all know the benefits of exercise. We're just going to quickly review, as well as kind of dig in a little bit deeper to why we don't exercise. Also, how we can make exercise work for our lives in particular. We're going to learn to hack our habits, what the current fitness guidelines are, as well as assess personal stress and how we can pair that up with our exercise. So heading on into it, benefits of exercise. So we tend to only think of those long-term effects of exercise, but we have immediate exercise effects that happen right after exercise. Really important, within about 24 to 48 hours after a bout of exercise, we actually have lower blood pressure, as well as our blood sugar helps stabilize and regulate from that movement and helps our muscles absorb any extra blood sugar that we have to keep that lower maintenance of blood sugar, which is an awesome thing, as well as it helps control appetite, boosts mood, and improve sleep. So again, like I mentioned, we only tend to think about those long-term benefits, and we forget that a quick bout of exercise can do wonders for our body physically and mentally. These are great little reminders to give ourselves when we need that little extra push and motivation. Personally, for me, sometimes I don't feel like exercising. I know I shouldn't say that as a fitness professional, but we've all been there. And kind of that little reminder that I give myself if I haven't been that active that day and I'm struggling to find motivation, always kind of reminding myself I always feel better after, even if it's just a short walk. I know that my mood's going to improve. I will most likely have more energy. And if I'm lucky, even if I kind of work up that motivation to go for a short walk, there's potential where I will get a little bit more motivated and actually get in more of a workout as well. So kind of digging in a little bit more, long-term effects of exercise. We have a stronger, more efficient heart, increased lung function, and increased respiratory muscles, especially with that little virus we have going on. Pretty important that we have some strong respiratory muscles and strong lung function. Increased muscle mass, stronger tendons and ligaments, strong bones, and it also reduces the risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, dementia, depression, and many cancers. So the definition of wellness is an active process of becoming aware and learning to make choices towards a longer, more successful existence. So I just like to point out the fact that the definition is even honoring that it's making progress towards wellness. It's not a set destination. It's not where you're at. It's making those small little movements towards living a better life. I think we can all agree that a strong heart, high respiratory function, strong muscles, tendons, ligaments, and bones is definitely going to lead us to a successful existence and a long one as well. I like to joke around and say in like 20, 40 years, I want to be able to reach up over my head and grab soup cans out of that cupboard above our head. I say jokingly, but I'm 100% serious. If we don't have that strength to even just carry those groceries bags in, get up off the ground, or go up a flight of stairs, our quality of life is greatly impacted. So just kind of taking that time to step away from typical reasons why we exercise and channel into and think about more of the long term of why we want to incorporate a little bit more physical activity. We hear about osteoporosis risk often, especially for us ladies, but we don't talk about muscle mass, the loss of muscle mass, or flexibility, which are huge factors that affect our wellness and quality of life, particularly in relation with healthy aging. So we'll definitely be discussing this a little bit further in our presentation. So again, like I mentioned, a lot of individuals focus on the vanity aspect when incorporating an exercise routine, but this reason is only going to get you so far. For example, when you say you want to start exercising to look better, feel better, and become healthier, it's a little bit vague, but it probably sounds pretty familiar to most of us. But you may not realize that there are subconscious factors keeping you from your goal. So we're just going to dig in a little bit deeper. I want you guys to just kind of think a little bit deeper of how you want your quality of life. Do you currently struggle kind of getting up from the ground without, there's a good test that they actually have where longevity is associated being able to get off the ground, not using any of your hands. I don't know if it's a good test to try, but just kind of thinking about incorporating that quality of life with aging. So let's dig a little bit deeper into why we stop or avoid exercising in the first place. So our main points, our most common, is going to be time, money or resources, weather, unfamiliar with certain exercises, types of movement. We can be bored, tired, lack of energy, or often we hear waiting for the right time. So I know you're thinking, Nikki, why are we talking about reasons that we stopped in the past and avoided exercise? We're supposed to be talking about starting a sustainable fitness routine. That's very true, but it's important to recognize and reflect on why things didn't work out in the past. We may want something, but if our want doesn't align with our goal, or if our want doesn't and or goal doesn't align with our values, we're unknowingly going to sabotage that goal. So just a quick example for you guys. You may want to incorporate exercise into your life, and but you really value at that current moment excelling in your job, which we can all relate to. You're going to find it really difficult to maintain the time that you allotted towards your workout for the day, even if it's just a 5-10 minute walk. And this is because you value answering that email or putting the last finishing touches on that project rather than taking a break and adding in some movement into your day. While we want to be successful at our job, we can also realign how we value things as well as how our goal can affect our overall life. So instead, if we want to incorporate both of these things, excelling at our job as well as living a healthier life, think about the improved mental clarity that you'll have if you just take a quick break, even if it's just for a quick walk. The healthier you are mentally and physically, the better you're going to be able to perform at your job. When you feel good, you perform way better. So just seeing how a simple realignment in your values can help accomplish these goals. So I just want to do a quick poll with you guys. What are your top reasons that you've stopped or never started a routine in the past? So let me go ahead and get this poll up for you. Just take a few seconds. You can go ahead, pop in your answers, whether it be time, money, resources. If maybe something's listed on there that has affected you in the past and it's not listed, go ahead, pop it in the chat. All right, so we'll go ahead and end that poll in just a few more seconds. All right. So go ahead looking at it. Most of our answers are going to be time, which was the same exact one previously. I know there's never enough time in the day and the week. Runner up is tired, lack of energy, kind of more even across the board. So yeah, we're going to dig a little bit deeper and into each of these common challenges. All right, so heading into our first common challenge is time. So what I want you to think about is realistically, how much time can you set aside weekly? So some things to consider is drive time if you're going somewhere else, maybe not staying at home, or maybe it's close to the office, that type of thing. Do you have to shower or get ready after? How much time do you have for that, as well as what's the actual length of the workout or the class that you're taking. And if you're working out on your own, incorporating a warm up and cool down. So sometimes we like to think about one block of time per exercise, and typical one that we like to think about is 1 hour. But realistically, you might only have about 20 to 30 minutes with considering everything that we just listed. And so it's important to note that it's okay if you only have 20, 15 minutes. Any movement is going to be better than no movement. If time is an issue for you, I want you to think about changing the way that you think about fitness. So it's kind of a new era of fitness. One size or time does not fit all. The fitness industry definitely recognizes this and understands that not everybody has the same amount of time or extended periods of time that we can dedicate. And there are tons of in-person workouts, classes, online videos on YouTube, various apps that you can have that have various times for allotted exercise, ranging from just 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 20. And then if we're lucky, that 30 plus, maybe an hour. And so I want you to think about exercise in bouts. So that's just kind of a quick burst of movement rather than one solid block of time. So thinking about can you add in a 5, 10, 15-minute morning walk? Can you pop out during your lunch and take a quick 15-minute walk when you get home, or maybe even before you get home, just taking that quick 10, 15-minute evening walk as well. They actually did a really interesting study with a corporation. So most of their workers were sedentary, or they were at their desk all day sitting down. One group was allotted to do a half hour of walking before work. And then there wasn't much change in their everyday work schedule, mostly sitting. And then they took the second group and they did not have a set amount of time that they walked, but they encouraged them to take frequent movement break. So it was really short, just getting up, moving around, and it wasn't just a set block of time. The people who actually moved around more frequently within the day actually experienced more physical and mental benefits rather than the people who just allotted that 30 minutes of working out or walking in the morning. So just think about adding in those like to think about them as movement snacks instead of like popping over to your pantry. Just think about moving around. Can you go on a quick walk, even if it's just up and down your block, or popping outside, walking around the building, one quick lap? And get creative about adding exercise in. So I'm a big person. I hate traffic. I want to avoid it at all costs. So if you experience heavy traffic in the morning, if your schedule allows, rather than sitting in that traffic, can we adjust our schedule a little bit to come in earlier? And maybe if you're in the Clearwater location, pop down into the fitness center and get a workout in before. Or possibly even after work to avoid that afternoon, evening traffic. As well as if you have children, taking them to activities. I know I was pretty active growing up as a child. My parents were driving me all around town. If you can just, when you're at a child's activity, can you add in movement? Can you walk around the area that you're dropping them off at? If you feel comfortable leaving them, can you maybe do a quick workout? So it all depends on where you go, but just kind of getting creative with adding in that movement throughout your day. And also just really work on actually scheduling your workout in, even if it's just your daily walk for 5 minutes. Plan it, write it down, and prepare for it. And at the end, all of it, just ease into it. It's okay to start small. We don't expect you to be popping out like 15-minute morning walks, lunch, evening. Just maybe work on getting a 5-minute walk in the morning. Then once you're kind of getting used to that as becoming a part of your identity, can we pop in maybe an afternoon walk, or maybe make that morning walk just a little bit longer? Just some things to consider. Our next common challenge is aligning our interests and resources. So if you have a piece of paper or anything, I just want to do a quick activity with you. If you want to do it mentally, feel free to do that as well, but I'd really like you to write it down. If you can write down about 3 to 5 physical activities that you enjoy, or maybe you even just you envision yourself that you might enjoy it. So go ahead and write that list down. So it could be things along the lines of dancing, maybe weightlifting, even gardening, walking, running, taking a bar class, spinning, or cycling outside, a yoga class, anything you got. And then, all right, making that list, right next to it, I kind of want you to assess ranking them 1, 2, 3, or 5. So 1 being the one that you think you would enjoy most, and then 3 or 5 kind of being the one that you not enjoy as much, probably. And then a following column after that, I just want you to list the resources that you currently have access to right now. So maybe if that is weightlifting, do you have access to weights at home or a nearby gym that you can easily sign up to? If it's walking, do you have an easily accessible environment that you can walk in, whether you have a treadmill, if you can go outside? So just kind of align it with what you can currently do right now if you were just start off. So whatever you have access to the most, and you can even list any cost that might be associated with something that you want to do. Does that cost align with your budget? Can it possibly in the future? So just things to consider. And we want to, because we like to have these ideas of everything that we want to do and how we're going to be healthy come the new year. Sometimes we don't think about the actual logistics and can we make that possible in our life? So this activity is just kind of to get us an idea of where we can start off right now. So the next thing I want to focus on is make movement enjoyable. By actually doing things that you like, you are greater to stick with it. We hear all the time, or something that I hear frequent is, I don't like to run, but I want to get in, I want to get healthier. I signed up for a 5K and I absolutely hate running. My first thing is, don't sign up for something that you absolutely hate doing. So instead, focus on things that you really do enjoy. If you hate running, don't run every day. You're not going to stick with it in the long term. So maybe just start with walking. And while you're walking, listen to your favorite podcast, audiobook. Maybe you call a loved one. So just pairing movement with something that you really enjoy doing. And if walking grows on you, maybe you consider doing some small jogging intervals. So maybe for about like 5 or up to 30 seconds, you're going to jog and then walk for another minute. And then you get that burst of a jog and walk for a minute and slowly work up to that running. Just don't force yourself to do something that you hate. Just gently ease into it. And if it's not working out for you, reassess and go back to that list and let's look at a different activity that we can do. I have a great story I want to share with you guys. I was at a Pilates class recently, and the woman next to me, I heard her talking to her friend, and she goes, 57 years, I actually found an exercise I enjoy. I actually look forward to coming here and working out. As a fitness professional, that like absolutely melted my heart because that is the main goal. We want somebody to enjoy the movement that they're doing, not thinking of it as a forced punishment that they have to do. Harder, stronger, more effort isn't always essentially better. So I just really want to stress finding something that you actually enjoy, or at least pairing movement with things that you enjoy. All right, getting into the next one is boredom. Sometimes when we do the same thing day in, day out, it gets very boring, difficult to continue doing. So I just invite you, maybe adding variety. Maybe that's a new exercise class. Maybe try something different, maybe a new yoga class, a bar class, just something out of the norm. Or pairing up new exercise, switching up your routine a little bit, trying different intervals. So say if you just normally walk on a treadmill, maybe adding in a few bouts of jogging, but maybe say you hate jogging. So instead, maybe if you're on a treadmill, we just bump up that resistance for about one, so that incline of going a little bit higher of an incline, like we're walking up a hill, maybe just add that in for 30 seconds and then move it down. So you're kind of going on this up and down motion, just adding variety. And it's also, I just want to note, it's important to cycle your workouts. So it's beneficial so you don't want to be cycling your workouts constantly where you're doing something new every single day. But if you want to add in a little bit of variety, every like 4 to 8 weeks, try something new, switch up your exercises, do something a little bit different. But with adding in all of this variety and changing new things, allow your time or allow your body and mind to reconnect. So give yourself some time. When you haven't moved your body in a particular way, you might feel uncoordinated, a little bit silly, a bit awkward. And I want you to know that that is completely normal. It takes a little time for your neuromuscular connection to be established. So if it's just important to let yourself reconnect. You're not the only person in the world who kind of feels a little silly moving a certain way. So just be a little bit humble when it comes to trying a new exercise. And as I mentioned previously, you really want to pair your workout with some of your favorite things. Maybe it's your favorite music, your favorite podcast. Maybe there's a TV show that you're the only person in the household that likes to watch. Maybe you take it on your iPod or phone and you just pop it on while you're walking on a treadmill, or maybe take a walk outside. And then kind of on the flip side of that is, I know we like things to distract us from working out, but being present in that moment when you're actually working out. We don't want you thinking about your grocery list or when you need to make your doctor's appointment. The benefits of exercise is kind of channeling in, focusing on that moment. It will help with stress. And so just take that time to be a little bit present. All right, our next common challenge is, we hear it all the time, waiting for the right time. It might sound like after this project or come this new year. Don't wait, adjust your routine to fit into your life. As we all know, things will continuously pop up. Do what you can that works in your life right now. As I discussed earlier, reimagine what you think fitness is. So incorporating those small bouts, even if it's just a 10-minute workout. Again, thinking about that small bout rather than a big one block of time. And as we all know, life is isn't gonna stop. It keeps coming. There's a new obstacle. Life challenge is always gonna be coming up. Just do what you can. All right, and then getting into it, have a backup plan. I don't want to discourage anybody, but I want to let you all know you're going to fail. Everybody fails. I fail all the time. There's going to be a day that you miss, that there was something that set you back. You weren't able to get into it, and it might even last a few days. So just understanding that setbacks are a part of the process. Do what you can to plan ahead for these obstacles and identify alternatives. So, what happens if work runs late? Instead of popping into the gym after work, it's a little bit too late. You need to get home. Maybe you just plan for a quick evening walk. Again, planning ahead to assist any obstacles you may face. So if you tend to run out of time in the morning, get your workout clothes ready the night before. So as soon as you're ready to go, you can just grab your bag and head out the door. As well as if you typically, I know this is a big one for me, if you skip your evening workout because you went home first, can we pack our gym bag and have it in the car so we can go straight to the gym or straight into our workout right after work? Do you skip your oops, just went over that one. And then even the best planning, things are going to get derailed. There's going to be an unexpected thing that pops up. So again, just have that small little backup plan. Can we just get in a short little burst of movement, whether it just be a walk or anything that you can do, a quick workout video. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. What's important is that you take the time to reflect on the situation, what maybe happened throughout the day that led this, learn from that failure, and just create little mini steps in your head that you're going to take next time to avoid that derailment. All right, so what we really want to focus on is hacking our habits. So there's a few steps that we want to go ahead to try to make our habits stick. So as we've been mentioning throughout the presentation, very critical to start small. One of the biggest barriers to consistency is not starting small enough. Start small with your habit and then ramp it up. Identify your goal and break it down into a series of smaller goals that will lead you there. So if you're having trouble making a smaller goal, try the 2-minute rule. Create a small goal that takes less than 2 minutes. And then from there, what I want you to do is create 3 more steps that lead to your big overall goal. That's kind of what our end goal is that we want to be accomplishing in from about a year from now. So say our big goal is just to add in a 30-minute walk 5 days a week. So a tiny goal is just to put your shoes on, and if we're lucky, get in a 2-minute walk. Then we're going to ramp it up a little bit, and we are going to walk for 5 to 10 minutes. And if we can, we're going to try to aim for 2 times a week. And then over a little bit more time, we're going to go ahead, bump that walk up to 10, 15 minutes. And can we add on an extra day to make it 3 days a week? And then before you know it, we're going to tack on another day and then work our way up to that 30 minutes, 5 days a week. So our next cue in helping our habits is build a habit stack to make it obvious. So a habit stack is piggybacking on an existing habit. After insert current habit, I will add in a new habit. So after I take off my work shoes, I'll change into my work clothes. And then once you have your first step, keep stacking. So it's not going to be the next day you're going to add something. It's going to be over a long span of time that we're going to kind of continuously stack a little bit more. So then getting into it, the next two kind of pair are, we're going to focus on making your habit attractive and satisfying. So things that are good for us take time. However, this is extremely demotivating for humans. Reward yourself immediately for doing your new habit. Your brain loves rewards. So what you want to do is just brainstorm a few reward ideas after you complete your little tiny habit that you want to do, or the small part of exercise that you want to complete when we're starting off. And this might be things of just having like a fancy coffee or tea maybe. Maybe you enjoy video games. Maybe after you get your workout in, you game a little bit, or if you want to watch your favorite TV show, maybe hop on social media, give yourself that little reward after. Maybe even kind of add a little bit of a money aspect to it. So every time you accomplish your award, you throw over a few dollars to a set account where you are going to get a, just treat yourself with something, whatever it may be. But the idea of this is to steer clear of rewards that contradict your new habit. So if we're looking to add in a little bit more physical activity because we want to be healthier, probably rewarding ourselves with ice cream after a 5-minute walk each day is not going to get us to the health that range that we want to be in. So just make sure it's aligning with your goals. And then getting into our next one, the next two kind of combine together. It's make your habit success easy and make your habit failure harder. So humans are designed to put the least amount of effort possible and use this to your advantage. So easy equals change for humans. So what we want to do is you're just really working on setting yourself up for success. So if you set together all of your workout clothes, your water bottle, all the accessories that you need ahead of time. So say in the morning, you just grab your bag and you're good to go. Instead of having to take that extra time to get all your stuff ready, just knock it on out. So just try to brainstorm at least 2 ways to make your habit easier by eliminating friction. And then last but not least, track your habit. It's so critical that you write things down, make it visible, even just putting it in your phone. So some people like to create a visual calendar or a fancy planner, just something that you see daily. And you want to be marking off every time that you complete your habit. So this will help with, because you don't want to break the chain when you create that. You want to keep going. And if you do, just always tell yourself, never miss more than twice. If you're struggling sticking to your habits, rewarding yourself at the end of the first week and second week is really going to help give your brain that dopamine hit to keep going. So make sure you're rewarding yourself. And then also, we want to find our habit people. So whatever the social environment that defines normal will rub off on you. So spend time in environments where your goal and habit are the norm. So you want to find people that are where it's normal to work out or go on walks. Maybe even just making a list of where you might find these people, whether it be an online group, maybe a walking club that you can find in the local area, a runner's club, even just people that you find at the gym, maybe in the office, where it's the norm for them to work out, to add fitness into their daily life. So I just want to take a quick poll with you guys, check in, see how we're doing. What do you think is the most difficult part of building a habit from the ones that we just went over? So let me pop this on up. So again, what part of adding or changing a habit do you find most difficult? Is it starting small, finding that habit stack, making it attractive and satisfying, making the failure harder, tracking your habit? Oops, and we have make a habit and attractive, satisfying double on there. Went a little bit too quick adding in the poll today. Yeah, Karen. So there is a lot, there are various things, various time frames that people have said that it takes time to create a habit. Sometimes it does, you do hear the 21 days, as well as I believe I've heard 90 days as well. So it all depends. And what really depends is kind of creating, so you basically have these neural pathways, think of them as a river. So whatever you do normally, it's kind of a river that just makes it easier in your brain. That's almost a constant. When you try to do something new, you're creating a smaller stream and you're just trying to push more water through that way. So every time you do that habit, the river is going to get a little bit bigger and it's going to get a little bit easier. So it actually varies from person to person, depending on the task. So just things to be mindful about. So let's go ahead and end that poll. All right, so it looks like starting, I definitely understand that it can definitely be difficult to start small. Sometimes when we have that motivation, we're gung-ho, we're ready to go, and it's hard to scale back. But if you're ever feeling extra motivated, feel free to push it a little bit. But again, just don't just try to come out the gate like 5 days a week pushing yourself, because you weren't doing that previously just a few weeks ago. So it's just important to ease back to where you are. Making the habit harder. And looks like we would need to work on making the habit attractive and satisfying. So I definitely just to make the habit attractive and satisfying, really focus on things that you enjoy doing, and how can you add that in to reward yourself. So again, it's challenging because we're trying to break those habits that might not be good for us, but it might be the things that we enjoy the most. So even just kind of allowing yourself to pop on social media after a walk, if that's what you're interested in, just creating something that gives your brain that nice dopamine hit is going to be what's really important. All right. All right, so actually getting into the nitty gritty of our exercise guidelines, starting your fitness journey. So you'll see on the screen, this is the exercise guidelines. This is what we're building up to a year from now. Ideally, this is kind of, or even 2 years. Take time to get into it. This is what we're aiming for. These are the exercise guidelines that they recommend to just be overall a generally healthy human. I want you to notice that aerobic exercise has 2 boxes, one for moderate and one for vigorous. So those aren't to be combined together. I don't want you to think that it's like 150 minutes each week plus 75. It's actually, the main part is the 150 minutes per week. So if you break that down, if you can do 3 days a week, that's going to be about like 15-minute block times. If you're only exercising for like 3 days, and those 50 minutes can be throughout the whole day. So maybe just like 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. So moderate activity is going to be a little bit lower pace. So walking to jogging, more lighter resistance. Think about dancing, cycling. Whereas vigorous activity, I want you to think about your breath is heavy. You're really pushing it hard. When you do vigorous activity, you can really drop down the amount of time you're doing that weekly. So the goal isn't always to just push yourself as hard as you can, as long as you can. So just to be mindful of that. Then getting into it, you'll see below aerobic is resistance training. So ideally, we're getting 2 to 3 days per week of resistance training. Resistance training can also kind of be referred to as strength training. It's essentially any exercise that causes the muscles to contract against an external resistance. So an external resistance can be dumbbells, exercise tubing or bands, even just your own body weight, water bottles, any object that creates that muscle contraction. And then below that, ideally, with flexibility, we have the range of 2 to 3 days a week, kind of getting a nice good stretch on all the major muscle groups. But just to note that it is beneficial to go about like 5 to 7 days. Flexibility is going to be absolutely crucial. So the importance of flexibility and mobility. Flexibility is defined by the ability for the muscle to lengthen and return back to the normal length. Mobility is based on the combination of the joints range of motion. So that's being able to reach your arm all the way up and reach it all the way back. Being flexible and having full joint mobility can significantly improve the quality of life, including reducing day-to-day pain and increasing your overall health. So one thing I always like to note about this is people aren't born flexible or not. It's a common idea also that you lose mobility and flexibility as we age. but that's not necessarily correct. It's due to more of being inactive. So just to be mindful of, think about kids. We like to think they can move their bodies all different ways, because have you ever just given a kid to sit in a chair? They'll climb all around it. They move all crazily. They're always moving through their full range of motion, stretching their body, those muscles as long as possible. And then think about how your life kind of changes as you get older. You're more sedentary, sitting down often, not doing those crazy movements. So it's understandable that you start to lose mobility in your joints. Your limbs don't extend as far as they used to, because you're not going through that full range of motion. So just important that it's more of a concept of, if you don't use it, you lose it, rather than something that's normal that happens to us as we age. And then I also just want to stress the importance of rest and recovery. Rest and recovery is just as important as the actual exercise session. So during our exercise session, whether it be aerobic or resistance training, you are actually tearing those muscle fibers. You're kind of breaking your body down. So that rest and recovery the next day, maybe even two, is just as important as actually pushing yourself physically during the exercise session. So I just want to hear from you guys. What's your favorite type of exercise? Is it aerobic, thinking about moving around, running, walking? Or do we like strength training? Let's put this one up. Or flexibility? All right. So go ahead and end our poll. And it looks like aerobic is our most favorite, which usually expected. Resistance following, as well as flexibility behind that. So I just want to dig a little bit deeper, because I do know that aerobic exercise tends to be everybody's favorite, or I mean, debatably, but everyone's most common mode of exercise. So the next slide, I just want to dig a little bit deeper into strength training and the importance of strength and resistance training. It's one of the most underused formats that can achieve multiple goals at the same time. If you want to get your heart rate up and improve endurance, if you're looking to build up lean body mass and you're looking to get in a good sweat, strength training can do all of this and all at the same time. So when we think of strength training, I want you to think about common strength exercises like bench press, shoulder press, a lat pull down, a squat, even like Pilates classes, a Pilates reformer class, a bar class, even certain types of yoga classes, particularly more where you're moving, not the restorative types of classes. Essentially, any resistance that has a force, body weight bands, machines. So what's important with our strength training is you want to start off at that stabilization training. So it's important to build a proper foundation by starting with that stabilization. So benefits of stabilization is improved muscle balance, postural control, stability, and overall core control. And what I want you to think about is high reps and lighter weights. So in this rep range, so the number of repetitions that we're going through is typically about 12 to 20. And ideally, we're going through about 1 to possibly 3 to 4, 5 total sets of that 12 to 20 repetition. And then after about 4 to 8 weeks, if you're looking to progress a little bit more with your training, like I mentioned before, we're looking to cycle those workouts, maybe push ourselves a little bit more. We're going to look into getting into our strength endurance training. So this transition is working on increasing total muscle size and overall strength. And then our rep range is going to drop a little bit because our weight is going to go up. So we're going to drop down to more about 8 to 12 reps. And we're going to be trying to lift a little bit heavier weight than we were when we were in the stabilization training from about 12 to 20 reps. And then typically you always want to start at that stabilization training. Some people will move up to that next step, which is the strength endurance training. But most people are going to stay in those first two steps of strength training. If you're looking to progress even more, so you're looking for more muscle growth, more, or in other words, gains, right? Then we're going to look at about 4 to 8 weeks after, we're going to try to progress to the hypertrophy training. So this is, again, we're looking for muscle growth. Again, not everybody's going to go here, but I'd highly encourage everyone, especially women, and as you're aging, to work into these zones. As we get older, we naturally lose muscle mass. And it's important to incorporate strength training because it helps delay the loss of muscle. And if you think about it, muscle is what's holding your skeleton up. And that's what's going to be important, going back to the idea of longevity, healthy aging, is just adding in that little bit of resistance, that extra force to keep our body strong as we age. So the last step in strength training would be maximum strength training. This is you are pushing yourself for about 1 to 5 reps. And these are going to be the heaviest reps, the heaviest amount of weight that you're pushing out. So again, not everybody's going to go up to this step, only if certain people do. If you're just the everyday person and you want to work on increasing your strength, you can build up to this. But again, like I mentioned, most people are only going to stay in those first 2 steps, which is stabilization and strength endurance. All right. And then last but not least, I just want to go over assessing your current stress level. So the biggest thing I want to stress to you all is exercise is a stress on your body. Your body doesn't know the difference between you stressing by running a marathon or you stressing at work because a huge project is going on. There is the same exact chemicals being released essentially. So stress in small bouts is a good thing, but that long-term chronic stress is the true issue. So higher intensity, longer, more frequent bouts of exercise are not always the answer. So I want you to just do a quick reflection on your life and your stress level, and think about your stress level at work as well as at home. And where would you rate that stress level? 1 being the absolute lowest and 10 being the highest. And it depends on the individual. We all have our own perception of stress. So don't just think because if something really stresses you out, but you think that it's not as bad as like somebody else, that doesn't necessarily work. We all have our own perception of stress. Kind of once you have that idea of where your current stress level is at, and if you're living a higher stress level and at work and or at home, you already have these really high stress hormone levels, particularly cortisol. And so it's going to be important to incorporate lower intensity, gentler movement into your workouts. So I want you to think about walking, biking, staying more in that stabilization, strength endurance training, and avoiding high intensity exercises, or at least limiting them to about once, maybe twice a week, but ideally maybe even not incorporating them at all. As a fitness professional, you get it all the time. What's the best exercise to do? And a lot of times with studies, people think that it's HIIT training, pushing yourself as hard as you can, lifting as hard as you can. But if you have these extremely high stress levels, you're not sleeping well, not recovering well, adding in higher intensity exercise is going to be detrimental. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're actually probably doing yourself more harm than good. So just doing a quick recap of everything. First and foremost, make your routine enjoyable. That is the most important. Plan for setbacks and prepare for them. Hack your habits. Start low and slow. Make rest and recovery a priority, and align stress levels with exercise intensity. So again, we talked a lot about hacking your habits. The Wellness Center has previously put on a mini habits and a 30-day tune-up previously. I highly recommend that you check out the material if you're interested in a little bit more information regarding habits. I'll be including that in our follow-up email. Also, as well as just a short, very short, I promise, less than a minute survey. If you could please fill that out, we really appreciate any and all your feedback. And I will hang out for a little bit longer. We have a few minutes before the hour is up. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out. You can come off the mic, or if you'd rather pop it in the chat, feel free to do so, but we'll hang out just a little bit longer. Okay, great question, Kevin. Regarding meal planning services, we are actually going to be having an on-site registered dietitian. Her contact information is going to be coming out shortly. I would highly recommend. So I don't know if there's going to be any set meal planning services, but you will have the opportunity to actually work one-on-one with a registered dietitian completely for free. So we do know that most health insurance does not cover dietitians, as well as it's difficult to find them in the area. So we will actually have an on-site registered dietitian that our employees can work with. Yes, it is an awesome benefit. I'm super excited. We just met our registered dietitian. She's going to be a great addition to the wellness team. And Denise, if you're still on, I did see your message from earlier. I would definitely channel into your current sleep routine if you're feeling very tired in the morning. And then I would just really work on adding in small bouts of exercise, even if it's just a quick stretch in the morning and afternoon, or a quick walk to help with your energy levels. A lot of times too, if you're waking up extremely tired, you might want to check out your cortisol levels. They might be a little bit backward. So focusing on getting sunlight right when you wake up will help kind of balance out our natural circadian rhythm. So just some things to consider. Think about the tiny little movements and adding it in daily. And Christine, how many days a week it's best to begin working out? It's really more set to be individualized, but I would highly recommend about 2 days a week. So just to give yourself enough time to recover. A lot of times when we start working out, you'll definitely experience DOMS. It's called delayed onset soreness. And so we really want to just give ourselves enough time to recover after each bout of exercise, especially when you're first starting out. So I do recommend kind of about 2 days a week. And once you get 2 days a week under your belt, adding in up to 3-4 days a week, whatever works best for your schedule. All right. So I do see from Denise, how do you recover after exercise? Nervous about getting hurt and thinking about roadblock. Definitely. So just recovering after exercise, huge. Make sure to incorporate a cool down after you exercise, whether it just be a lower intensity type of walking after, just get your heart rate back down, a little bit more stabilized, and stretching and just working on mobility, moving your body in a full range of motion. So this can be a way slower pace, just really incorporating stretching and more flexibility. This is going to be a huge if you stretch more and work on mobility, that's where it's going to come into injury prevention that I highly recommend. And then also just kind of working on that physical or more mental aspect of letting that roadblock go. Sometimes when we worry and think about it more, we kind of put that idea in our head and that we kind of manifest it a little bit more. So just working on knowing that it's normal for your body to move. And then also incorporating with recovery is really focusing on getting a solid rest and sleep routine. All right. Well, if anybody has any other questions, just feel free to come off mute. You can ask or pop it in the chat. I'll hang out just another minute or two and I'll let you guys all get back to your day. All right. Well, thank you all. I will see you. Have a great weekend.